Boar's Head invites you to enlighten your senses. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Inspired by Japanese master chefs, our signature teriyaki glaze is crafted with garlic, ginger, and a hint of brown sugar. Then paired with our tender, slow-roasted chicken breast for a flavor that's sweet, savory, remarkably bold. Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Compromise elsewhere.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show. Covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
Hello and welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check us out over at www.the110nationsports.com for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. We got a lot of things going on over there at the 110nationsports.com site. You got to get over there. Also, show our riders some love. We're running a contest. Yes, we were running multiple contests, but we're running another contest. And help show the love to our riders. The rider that can bring the most attention. In other words, the rider that gets the most hits on their articles, quality hits. We're factoring in average time. We're factoring in bounce rates, page per views, all those kind of factors. Those that kind of have the best turnouts in September myself. So make sure you guys go over there and show love. So make sure you guys go over there and check that out. Little update before we get Mike on the show and we get ready to do our NFL picks and bring our guest on. For those that have listened to the show all week, I have been without AC, and we have been without electricity in half this house, and today was no different. A scalding 95 degrees outside, so it's been about 90 degrees inside. I think we're finally down to about 85 degrees in the house. Of course, with the electricity and those that not caught what was going on, for some reason we're only getting 25, either 12 or 25 out of the 225 volts we're supposed to be getting in here. Supposedly they've gone to South Carolina to get the what needs to be replaced, and they're talking about a few days. But unfortunately, that consists of the circuit breakers that are the part of the house that has the AC unit and everything else. So, unfortunately for us, it's been ice cold showers, which today wasn't a bad thing. It took me a nice cold shower. Usually I take a shower after I get off the show when it's a little bit cooler. But I figured I might as well try to get out of being unmiserable. Also, that means no washer and dryer. So I figured through the clothes to make sure that we have clothes for tomorrow. Hopefully they come get everything fixed. Might have to go buy some clothes for the next couple of days. But that's what's going on here at the 110 Nation Studio. Miserably hot. Only half a house with electricity. That means only microwavable food. That means very limited opening and closing of the refrigerator because it just barely has enough electricity just to keep the refrigerator barely running. And the oven, there's not enough electricity in the kitchen for the oven to run, nor do we want to have a reason to run the oven with it already being 85 degrees in the house. But, yes, not trying to do anything that consists of the microwave, or the oven anyway. We got Rette Jones, here you go, Mark Rette of Rette Jones Racing joining us. He's been on the show at least once, if not twice. One of my personal favorite guests. It seems every time we've had him on the show, we get to have a long, fun, educational, entertaining conversation. So very excited about having him on the show join us tonight. Also, we have newcomer to the show, Ali Owens. Very excited about having her join us tonight. Get the opportunity to catch up with her, get to know a little bit about her, and see what the future holds for this young, talented driver. So very, very, very excited about that. I got to thank Fit for Life. Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook, Fit for Life. Go to www.the110nationsports.com. Yes, that's our site. Well, we got their banner on the right-hand side. Click on it. See if there's a location near you. It was a nice, cool little video from Fit for Life. One of these guys setting a personal records best with the trainers there. So it was really cool to see that video. But you click on that banner, see what the nearest location is to you. 24/7, 365. Get your gym on. Clean, courteous, and well-equipped gyms. Make sure that you guys check them out. That's Fit for Life. Also got to thank Snafu Seasoning, the official sponsor of Racing with Big Sweat. Thursday nights, 9 p.m., kickoff time. Make sure that you guys check that out. Snafu Seasoning is a 100% all-natural, no preservative meat rub. Great product, great on many, many things. All you got to do is call in, participate in the Thursday night show. Big Sweat will hook you up with a bottle. Also got to thank I-95 Sports Network and Mile High Radio Network for rebroadcasting our shows. Glad to have the opportunity to be part of their networks. Also, an opportunity to continue to grow. Over 300,000 strong, and we're still growing. And got to thank them for helping us make it. You can also catch us on Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, and, of course, here on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Or you can just go to our site, once again, that is I'm all about promoting the site today, the110nationsports.com. There's a page where it has, like, the last 5 or 6 shows, a big BTR radio, widget is what we call it. But opportunity to go. There's many things. How to join the 110 Nation, how to be a marketing partner, articles, just a lot of things over there on our site. So make sure you guys go over there and check that out. We're going to put Mike in the studio. He's got some things going on Friday night. He's going to let you know how you can follow his show and check him out on Twitter. And with the remaining about 15 minutes, we're going to go through our picks. And we're going to do a little something this year and see between Mike and myself, see who has the better record. If anybody wants to participate and give us their picks and see who comes out on top at the end of the year, all you got to do is hit me up either on Twitter at CJSports1, or you can just email me, MrCJSports@gmail.com, and we'll blast your picks out there, and we'll see who finishes out on top at the end of the year. But without any further delay, let's go ahead and get Mike on the show. Mike, how you doing tonight?
How you doing, CJ? Big show Friday. I spoke with Jim Williams today, and he is going to try and hook me up with the president of NEMA, that's the New England Hall of Fame, and we will talk on Friday about the inductees. Now, Jim was supposed to, between now and the show, and I told him about the publicity that we do, hook me up with the 8 inductees, a little bit of a bio, so I can write that up to you. And they actually nominated 8 people, and there were 8 inductees going into the New England Racing Hall of Fame. And so we'll talk to Jim and the president of NEMA about the 8 individuals. Jim, off the top of his head, couldn't come up with the names of all 8, but we will definitely talk about the all 8 inductees, all 8 of them, and they, it's basically all racing-related people from the New England area, which is what they cover. And if you weren't listening to the show when I had Jim and CJ and I had Jim on the program, I guess about a month ago, this first came up, this voting process that they go through. And so we'll delve more into that on Friday night and talk about the 8 inductees in terms of their careers and what made them prime people to go into the Hall of Fame. You mentioned a few people, Kenny Bouchard, and of course his brother Ron also ran a modified in New England area, and just people like that. They have Bug Stevens is another New Englander that I'm familiar with because he came down and ran Long Island a couple of times back in the day. And, and like I said, we've had Jim on, and Jim will bring on the president of NEMA this time, and he wanted to have him on last time, as I recall, but couldn't hook us up at the right time. But that'll be on Friday. Also, I put out a feeler to Bob Finan, the announcer of Riverhead Raceway, who also does their PR and oversees their website also. And that's a gentleman in terms of Long Island, in terms of racing, and he's been announcing at Islip and Riverhead for as long as I can recall. And so he knows a lot about the history of Long Island racing and the people that took part in it. And also, one of the things I mentioned to Jim in our discussion is Jim had wanted some information on one particular driver, and I said, well, you're overlooking somebody because Bob could probably tell you not only the famous people, like everybody knows that Tommy Baldwin, Jr., who is now a NASCAR Sprint Cup owner, his dad raced on Long Island, Tommy Baldwin Sr., and everybody knows about those drivers, Baldwin, Charlie Zombeck, and everything like that. But Bob could probably tell you, he could pick out the most obscure name from back in the day. And if he competed on Long Island or was an owner on Long Island or any type of situation like that, any racing-related subject, I definitely would go to Bob Finan as my encyclopedia reference on situations like that. So I'm trying to hook him up for the second hour as well. And, so we'll see what happens there. I still have not gotten anything back from him yet. I put the feeler out probably yesterday or early this morning. So if he gets back to me, and I will definitely reach out to him if I don't hear anything from him by the end of tonight, I will definitely reach out to him and see what the deal is with him this week. I wanted to get Sean Salamito for the longest time, and he is leading the Riverhead Points in Modified and also runs the tour, as a lot of the Long Island or Riverhead racers do. We've had Eric Goodell on, a couple of other people that weren't from Riverhead as well, like Doug Colby, who is, if he's not leading the points right now, he's right up there. Timmy Salamito we've had on, who also is if not, I think the last time I looked, he was fourth in the standings. So a lot of people from there. I can't get Sean because this week they're in Seekonk, Massachusetts, and Jim would know about that because he's been through Seekonk a couple of times. But, so they're in New England this week and this weekend. So Sean won't be available. If I can't get him by the time the season's over, I will get him during the off season, and we will talk about his season. And right now it looks like he is almost a lock with the last time. Again, the last update I got was he was like something like 40 points ahead with about a month to go. So, he would totally have to. The car would have to disintegrate, I would think, for him to, lose the lead and lose potentially the championship. So it should be a very interesting show. And again, I invited Jim on about a month ago, and I said we would have him on when they did have the Hall of Fame vote. And that's, I touched base with him this week, and he got back to me and said they did vote for 8 people, and he would forward me a bio so I could read up on those people that I'm not familiar with. There's a few of them that I, don't know as much as some others, but we were working on that basically, and he got back to me today and said he would also anticipate that the president of the organization, NEMA, New England Motorsports, would come on. And so that should be a very interesting show, again, for the people, for the fans that are into that were around back in the day and saw these individuals race and actually had, tremendous careers, which is why they are Hall of Famers. And I think Jim had mentioned to me today that they narrowed, and it took them about a month, and they've been going over the names, and they got down to 8 and decided that they would put 8 in this year. I don't know if they ever have a limit as far as or the lesser amount, but this year they put in 8. So we will definitely talk about that on Friday night. My social media, you can reach me on my Facebook page, the Hot Laps with Stats pages, and again, I have one for just basic announcements and show-related topics, and also for the fans to have input and feedback to me, which is the fan page. And specifically on that fan page, I'm asking of recent vintage because we will have a taped rebroadcast of one of the shows on October 7th when CJ is on the road and unavailable to produce. So we will want to rebroadcast. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. we will want a rebroadcast of any of the shows or a few of the shows we'll end up picking. And what I wanted to do is get enough feedback from fans, those fans that the most popular of the shows we will pick that show. If not, then I have 2 or 3 of my personal favorites that went very well that we will rebroadcast. And so either way, it will be a very interesting show, and listen in definitely, and we hope you listen to the live show. But also, if you enjoyed the shows up to this point, every one of the guests, and I try to vary, as I've explained from the outset of my thoughts on the program, is that I want to pick drivers as well as support staff and give fans a little bit of an idea of what it takes to run a weekly track situation from week to week. And that includes the announcers, the PR people, the officials, all of the support staff that goes into running a weekly track. In addition to the drivers as well, and including the drivers that come in on the tour basis, whether it be the trucks or the modifieds in the Northeast and the asphalt modifieds with the Whelen Modified Tour, as well as the Southern Modified Tour, which basically operates out of CJ's area in North Carolina mostly, and runs in the down in the South, versus the Whelen Tour, which is basically in the Northeast. And then there are certain guys that cross over as well on given shows as well that might come up to the Northeast, and a few guys, I think about 2 or more, have gone down and run the Southern Tour as well for a few races. And so I try to cover the full gamut of areas, whether it be legend cars. We've had Eddie Fatchler on, who has won very successfully, is from Long Island, lives on Long Island, but does tremendous commute on a weekly basis. We had him on, and we had some interesting shows with him, as well as some of the legend drivers that participate basically all over the United States, because the division, that particular division, there is no variation at all in cars. If you're in a legend car and you're in an Inex legend car, I just learned how to pronounce that this year as well. Those cars are the same, and so they can run on any track in any region and be legal. And so we've had some interesting guests from the Legend division, either on Long Island or wherever, and they run all over the place. So that's on October the 7th. That rebroadcast will take place. But up till then, as I say, as we wind down the season, and then some of the fellows are going to be running, some of the drivers will be running out of the state as soon as Riverhead ends their season as well. A couple of guys told me they will be running the Turkey Derby, so I will try and have them on between the end of the season and Thanksgiving, which is basically the last. I would anticipate the Turkey Derby if memory serves me correctly, there's nothing really going on after Thanksgiving, and then we get into the off season, and that's when we really talk to some of the drivers about what they're going to be doing next season as well. As far as there's a group of drivers that will always move up in divisions, or especially this year with the crate mods. Getting more in tune with, or getting the year under their belt, the first year at Riverhead with the crate modifieds, and so on. And so we'll have some interesting off-season guests as well. But that's that. And then finally, the last bit of social media that I have is you can reach me on Twitter at Stats108. And just to follow up a little bit on what CJ was saying about the 110 Nation pages, I write a blog every week that's based on the program and also my newspaper column that I write when I'm back on Long Island. That is the Riverhead Raceway Hot Laps blog. That's over on the 110 Nation page. And also, I did a golf story, and I will be doing a weekly golf story because I got tied into, which I wanted to do for the longest time, I got tied into the PGAtour.com website, which gives me a lot of insight into the tournaments that are not as well known, but they run, they're in season and so on. And even though some of them are not as greatly televised as like the Masters or the U.S. Open, which are the two big tournaments, golf tournaments, where even non-golfing fans tend to follow. I mean, everybody generally follows the Masters in April, and but as I say, I finally got logged into the PGA Tour site, and will be updating fans on golf tournaments as they come along. And this week, you can read about the BMW Championship, where the two interesting things happening on Sunday after the conclusion of that tournament. The top 30 golfers are locked in, which means they benefit for the rest of the season. They don't have to worry. And also, they get exemptions for 2017 as well. So they don't have to really worry about cuts or whatever because they made the top 30. And also, the Ryder Cup team for the U.S. Ryder Cup team, they will take on, as they do every 4 years. It's almost like an Olympics situation. I think there might be 2 years instead of 4, but it's similar in format, where the Americans, the U.S. players, take on the Europeans. And so after Sunday, after the tournament concludes, the Ryder Cup captain, who happens to be Davis Love III, will be choosing and rounding out the team for this year's event. So that'll be interesting to see. And, of course, I'll follow up on that on Sunday or after Sunday. Maybe Monday it'll be posted as well. And also, I'll give a young man a shout who's working very hard. I'm working with him and trying to help him with his writing skills and whatever. But Shannon Boland, who is the young man who CJ had start to write for us, has done very interesting pieces, articles on NASCAR. And this one that was posted, I assume, or will be posted if it hasn't been already, on Martin Truex Jr. So, that's an interesting read for the fans as well. So, like CJ said, there's a lot going on. So you should go over there and check out the articles, blogs, or whatever's everything, different sports going on, golf, hockey with Izzo, writing a few things up for us on the World Cup coming up, and I think he said a couple of days ago he was saying 17 days. It's a little bit closer now, but he's done some things for us as well, and we'll be covering hockey. So definitely check that out. But a very interesting show on Friday night again with Jim Williams and the New England Hall of Fame. You want to check out those inductees, and we'll talk more about each of the individuals on Friday night. So it should be very interesting from a historical perspective, CJ.
Definitely, we'll be looking forward to the opportunity to sit in on that. We got our first guest in the studio. He's making a return to the show. Like I said, we've had him on at least once, if not twice already. And if you've tuned in, you're about to really enjoy this next time slot. Is Mark Rette of Rette Jones Racing is joining us, and every time that I've had the opportunity to sit down with him, we've kind of scaled the walls on everything when it comes to racing in NASCAR, and it's very educational, very entertaining, and I think you guys will enjoy the conversation you guys are about to hear. So definitely looking forward to plugging him into the studio here. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get him into the show. Mark, how you doing tonight?
Hey, man, how's it going? Appreciate you having me back on. Just enjoying a nice evening, and just actually just heading home from the shop.
Headed home from the shop. It seems like it's probably something that never ends, and this year has been one of those years that kind of rewarding. We've had some highlights and some low points of the year, so we're going to jump into that and talk about that. And, of course, we're going to talk about this year in NASCAR and health issues and everything else that is going on. I'd love to pick your brain on all these hot topics that are going on in the NASCAR world, so looking forward to that. Before we jump into it, like always, I want to give you an opportunity to plug Rette Jones Racing. It could be social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you guys happen to use. Team site, personal sites, any sponsors you want to throw out there, anything that the fans, you would like the fans to know so they can follow you not only in the 2016 season but moving forward as well.
Well, yeah, first and foremost, obviously, the Twitter, the Instagram, all that stuff, it's awesome. It's the forefront of what we need to do on the marketing side of things to get us out there. Obviously, the Twitter site is really big. Everyone seems to be really big on Twitter right now. So obviously, the Rette Jones 30 is our Twitter deal. Facebook, the Rette Jones Racing. To be honest with you, I need to get it updated a little bit more. It's tough. It's a long season, and we're winding down to the end, but we're getting there. So I do apologize for not being able to get that stuff updated as much as need be, but definitely our Twitter account, we're always tweeting live during the races. And then during the week, obviously plugging sponsors and people and just the things that happen during the week and things that are going on, and just trying to keep our fans as up to date as we can, because obviously in the racing stuff, things definitely do happen fast and they happen a lot. So You know, I got to thank all of our sponsors, you know, Goodrich, Fluid Transfer Systems, Russo's Tinning, obviously Dominique's father's company, Durobite, you know, Jones Group, LTD, and, you know, all those great people. There's probably someone I'm missing for sure, but, you know, it takes every little bit that they give us, and we really appreciate everything they do for us. To move forward and do the things that we do, and you know, day in and day out.
Going into the season, I'm sure that you guys sat down and had an idea of things that you wanted to accomplish, goals that you guys wanted to reach, just kind of an outlook of what 2016 was going to be like for you guys. Have you guys met those goals? Has the season gone, for the most part, how you guys wanted it to go?
You know, no, not by any means, and I'm pretty stubborn. I expected, you know, to be a little bit better in the points that we are. We've had a lot of stupid racing incidents. You know, I really expected to compete for a championship with Dominique. But then again, you know, on the flip side of things, it's been a great year. She's been fast everywhere we've went. She's given great feedback. She's matured as a race car driver. Terminology and you know, mentally, physically, she's just become a great race car driver at the stage of her career and where she's at in life. You know, so you know, I'd like to be fighting with Kyle Benjamin for that championship, or I'm sorry, J.J. Haley and Kyle Benjamin. I think J.J.'s pretty much got it racked up. But those are the two guys we needed to be fighting with day in and day out, week in and week out. And we raced them hard all year long. And, you know, I expected to be further up, you know, but at the same time, I'm presently pleased with the way things are starting to come together here at the latter part of the season. And, you know, hopefully, you know, we get going, and no doubt in my mind that she can't go out and win a championship next year. That's our goal. That's our plan, you know, moving forward. You know, I've got to get her a victory lane first, but, you know, being to all these tracks this year for the first time, you know, I'll sit here and tell you, you know, our worst race of the year was Greenville. You know, it was the third race on the season this year. We were still learning each other. She was still learning the cars. She was still learning the grip of the tires. She was still learning a lot of things, you know, and who she can and who she can't race around, and who she can and can't push. That's gonna show you the respect, and some of the people that won't show you the respect, you know. So yeah. Greenville obviously was definitely our worst race of the year, and I wasn't pleased when we left there the first race. But I'll tell you, after Monday, I was ecstatic. You know, she put the whole race together. She did a great job. We had a great car. Brought it home third. I mean, man, I wish there was another 10 or 15 laps, to be honest with you. I think we definitely had a second-place car, no means, and I think if we had another restart there at the end and we could have got within the leader, I honestly think we had a better car at that point at the end of the race. There was points during the race that he was a little bit better than us, but, you know, really she did a great job managing her tires and managing her car the whole race. And that put us, you know, in the third spot at the end of the race. And, you know, I checked that off my list as, you know, I wasn't going to go back to Greenville like we did in the early part of the year. I just wasn't going to leave there no matter what, the way I felt, you know, early on. So yeah. I was, like I said, presently pleased. She did a great job, and I wish we can go back there and race her again this weekend.
Now, you kind of tiptoed around my next question. I was glad you didn't already answer it. Bringing a new driver in, how hard is it to build a relationship with the new person on the team, and learning them learning you, building the trust? How much work and how long does that take generally to kind of build that relationship so you guys are on that same sheet of music and moving forward and are able to be more focused on getting a victory lane and winning a championship versus being sidetracked with, learning each other and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, it's tough day in and day out. I mean, we're in a development series, in a development position, to where these kids they're still young. They're still, they might not have bad habits, but they might not just know where they need to be yet. She showed tremendous speed in late models. Last year, this is a different deal. Different cars. They're a whole lot heavier. Big taxi cabs is what I call them. But I honestly and truthfully, the first time we rolled out the test at New Smyrna, she got on that racetrack. I knew it was, I was pleasantly surprised in the talent that she had, and she gave great feedback right away. And it's just, there was a lot of learning curves. I mean, there was ups and downs. When not to go, when to go, when not to push your car to the limit, and so you don't lose grip in the tires over the long run. But I tell you, it's tough. These young kids, they're some of them are timid, some of them are outspoken. It's you get it. Everything's different. Everyone's different. But as far as Dominique goes, she is so mature for being just 21 years old. She's leaps and bounds above most 21-year-old kids that I have ever been around. So that made it really easy. Her determination, her family's determination, what they want to put into racing, and everything to do to get her to the spotlight, to get her to the next level, and hopefully one day, her be on in a cup car in that situation. It's great. It's they do the right things. She's matured over the year, and we've gotten closer over the year, and it's a learning curve. And I tell dads all the time, when you do these deals, it's kind of like a 2 to 3 year deal, depending on the series that you're running in, depending on how everything's going, and obviously everything depends on money nowadays. But you look at J.J. Haley last year. He was I'm not sure where he finished the points, but he was a 6th, 7th, 8th place car a lot of races. And this year he went out, and the tracks he's been to, kind of knew where he needed to be as soon as he pulled out of the pits, and he's been pretty good week in and week out all year long, and that's why he's as long as everything goes okay in these last couple races, that's why he's going to win the championship, because he matured over, the first year, the second year. He learned the racetracks. He understood the race cars better. He understood the tires better. Just everything about it. And now he's come out and shined. He's won a couple races, and he built himself a nice little points lead, and he's been smart throughout the year. He hasn't put himself in bad situations where maybe last year he did put himself in some bad situations and get himself, in something that he probably shouldn't have. They learn every weekend, week in, week out. And, at the end of the day, they go to these racetracks the first year. They might get an hour of practice, and they've never seen the place before. So it's tough. It's tough, but it's Kyle Benjamin is another one. He's second in points. He won the race at Greenville this weekend or on Monday. This is like Kyle's third year being in the K&N car and having a lot of ARC experience. So he's raced a lot for his young age, and it's starting to show. And I think with Dominique, as long as we put everything together for next year and start out how we're finishing this year, I don't think there's anyone out there that can beat us. I really don't.
No,
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention, following up on what you were saying also, and CJ was asking you. I have yet to hear an owner say, I'm shooting for number 2, or a driver even on the short track level, any level. What realistically, with everything being new and learned and everything else, what was a realistic position for you to be in as far as when the season is over?
Realistically, it's tough to say. There's been so much bad luck that she's had, just dumb racing luck. Some other people on the racetrack that just, I don't know if it was they didn't want to get beat by a female, because they sure were, in a lot of circumstances. I think it was there wasn't a respect laid down there. But I feel the way our year went, I honestly think we should be in, second, third, fourth. We should have been in that title hunt. I really do feel, with the speed that she's had week in and week out. I'm a little upset on the backside of it that we're not there, but I know what can be. I know what could have been, but I know what can be moving forward. So I set realistic goals every week. I want to win, and they're very realistic.
Like I said,
she's led a lot of laps. She's everyone comes up to me and is like, that girl's fast. She is fast, and week in and week out, there's been stupid, dumb luck things that have happened that we haven't been able to put the whole package together. And the other day at Greenville, we put the whole package together. The whole weekend was smooth. We had a great test down there. We were leaps and bounds better than we were there the first race, and that's all I can ask for. It's tough. It's tough with these kids. It's a 14-race schedule. It's they're not in the car every week. There's only one race, I believe, one race all year long where we had back-to-back races. So they're, she's still going to college. Obviously that's ramped back up again after the summer's over. So she's got a lot on her plate. She's got a very stressful, situation she's got to make the grades, or else Dad and Mom are gonna, they're gonna come down on her, and that's gonna affect her racing. But she's smart enough to separate it. I was joking with her the other day in the lounge before practice at Greenville. She was working on a paper for school, and I'm like, man, that's the reason I didn't go to college. I went racing instead, But she's putting herself in a good position. She's now a senior, and I think she, as she finishes out her schooling, and that's only going to make her stronger to where she can focus on the racing. And not that she doesn't, but it's it's a lot of pressure going to school full time plus racing. So,
right.
It's a good situation to be in. Don't get me wrong, but I think as she gets done this year and we move forward in the racing stuff, I think that's going to be even easier, even better for her to maybe spend some more time in the shop. It's tough. She's got a lot of credits that she's doing in her engineering classes. It's I see what she's going through, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of schoolwork.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you're not unusual. No owner, no driver ever says, okay, I'm shooting for number 2. So even if you say you wanted to win even on the first year, that's not unusual. It's probably unrealistic, maybe, but, like you said, within the top 5 anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And, at the end of the day, you put yourself in the top 5 in the last 20 laps, you never know what can happen.
Right.
Now, in this off season, what are you guys going to do differently, or what are you guys going to do in the off season to prepare, and maybe what would you do differently this year versus last year in the off season to kind of get this season or next season off on the right foot instead of finishing the season on the right foot?
To be honest, obviously, for Rette Jones Racing, we were still in the building process. We were still putting cars together. We were still, I was still weeding out the people that I want around me as far as my guys. I feel like we're right now where we're at. We finished these next 2 races. I feel like we're in a great position. We're already building cars for next year. We've got another brand new car that we just got the body hung on. That car's not even thought about for this year. That car is for next year. So I feel like we're going to be a whole lot more prepared, possibly to even do a little bit of off-season testing. It's tough, the testing situation that we're in with K&N. They've got rules and limitations. But there's some stuff that I've wanted to do all year that, it's like she's going to the racetrack for the first time, just to say Loudon. I had some stuff I wanted to try there. Well, it was the first time for her seeing that racetrack, so I didn't want to get out in left field working on a science project. I had to give her something solid, something to go with, and move forward. Now she's got such a great feel for a race car, and our packages we're tuning our packages a whole lot better, getting a whole lot closer. So when we unload off the racetrack or off the truck, we're there. We're close. We're just tuning with some shocks and just some little small things. And as the years went on, we've got that feel, and she's learned that feel, and now I know what she wants and what she needs in a race car. So when we unload, we're a whole lot closer, so we can work on the tenths of a second instead of the bigger gaps. I've got some stuff that I want to do personally in the off season that I think ultimately is going to pay some pretty big dividends for us. But it's just having the time to do it where you're not chasing that week schedule every other week where you got to be at the racetrack. You got to leave on Wednesday or Thursday, and you got Friday, Saturday, and then you're doing it all over again. We get a chance to sit back a little bit and do some testing. There's some different things I'd like to throw at her that I think could help. It's just not, it's hard in a race situation or a race weekend to step outside the box a little bit. So with that being said, obviously our cars are built up. We started last year. This time last year, I only had one K&N car sitting in the shop. Now we have 7. So we're built up. The people are there. The things are there. The nucleus of it all is clicking right away, and things are going good. And now it's time to fine tune. Like I said, we've had great speed. It's just we haven't put the whole race weekend together or the whole race together. We've had exceptional speed, and she's impressed. I get people coming to me all the time. That's like, hey, when you win the first one, she's gonna roll about 3 or 4 or 5 wins right after that, because that's how close she is.
Now, I want to kind of step away from Rette Jones Racing for a second, and with you being an owner, I kind of want to pick your brain on a couple of the bigger topics that's going on in the racing world. Just kind of get, the general senses of these topics. And the first one is, of course, the junior with the concussion, and of course, him being out the rest of the season. When we talk about concussion in sports, we usually talk about the NFL or the NHL. And honestly, I know it's not a big thing. I know there's not a lot of drivers, but there is drivers that are suffering from the concussion. As a team owner, with it kind of being a thing that's kind of being brought up, especially Junior being the most popular driver, obviously that is a big topic now. As an owner, do you guys approach wrecks or approach injuries differently, knowing that, maybe there could be, more of a backlash than versus, what we used to think, and just, okay, you got a bruise, let's get back in the car next week. Does it change your guys' approach any? You guys a little bit more cautious? Does the protocol change any? Or is it just business as usual, and this is just one of those very few incidences that it's just we're talking about just because it's Dale Jr.?
Safety is the biggest thing, no matter what. Anytime you build a race car, it's just got to be safe. There's unforeseen circumstances that happen. We're as a group, we learn every day. As an industry, we learn every day. The biggest thing, and trying to step away from just talk about my program, I strive on safety. I do everything that I have been taught over the years, that I personally know, that we just try to do the best thing and try and put our drivers in the best situations to where that doesn't happen. Dominique took a very nasty wreck at New Hampshire this year. We had a part failure which was out of our control. It was from a manufacturer, and it was a brand new race car. It had 50 laps on it. Every nut and bolt was brand new. And it was a very, very hard lick, and I was very proud of my guys, myself, everyone involved when she walked away from that wreck. It was, like I said, it was nasty. It was bad. So, the best thing, and that's the same thing, we went through all the protocols to make sure she was 100% ready to go the next week. We were very fortunate that we had a week between the next races. But she went to the doctors that NASCAR wanted her to go to, whether it be concussion, any kind of industry, or any kind of injury. She did all the right protocols. She did all the right things. And we, her father and I had to talk the week leading to the race where she wasn't approved yet till test results come back and stuff. And, her father laid the question, if she's not approved, what do we do? Who do we put in the car? What's your plan? What do you want to do? And I said, man, don't take this the wrong way, but I don't want anyone to race my car. I obviously, if she couldn't go, we'd have to do something, but I didn't even want to think about that because I wanted her in my race car. So I'm sure, with the Dale Jr. things, those guys are going through some hard times and learning new drivers. And, granted, Jeff Gordon jumped in the seat and Alex Bowman's jumped in the seat. And, it's hard. It's different. Every one of these drivers is different. They all have a different feel for a race car. But, it's tough. I'm glad because, I've been around Junior a lot. He's a great guy. He's Junior, I'm glad that that he's going to take the time and make sure it's right. Because, like I said, we never know. You don't – one bad wreck could mess him up or, it's just one good hit. And it's, like I said, we're always learning. We're always learning new things. We're learning, as the sport grows, we're learning more and more about concussions. I'm sure, for all those years, there's hundreds of drivers that drove with concussions week in and week out because they just didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God now we know we can, work on it. And I'm glad he's listening to his doctors and, because we don't want something bad to happen. We don't want to, he's the voice in NASCAR. He's Junior, so it's, and like I said, it's tough on everybody, but I'm sure it's tough on him. I'm sure it's just eating him up because he can't be in that race car. That's all. That's all they know. It's all they eat it, they breathe it. It's racing, So it's tough, but I'm glad that NASCAR is putting stuff in place, where these drivers have to go get tested. I know on the three major series, they do a baseline test before you can even get your license every year. I'd like to see it implicated in the K&N stuff. I'd like to see in late model stuff. It doesn't take 10 minutes to do a test, and you know where your baseline is, so if something does happen, where you're at. And it's I've seen it. Like I said, in the top three series, it's great, but we need to, as NASCAR and other series, they need to look at that and say, you know what, maybe we need to implicate something to have a baseline, so we know where these drivers are after they do get in a wreck.
I'm very vocal of the fact that I'm not a big Dale Jr. fan. As a matter of fact, I don't care for him at all. But I also will say, and I've said this repeatedly, in the media center, and I've been to about 30 or so races as media, if I get one driver, I've never had a chance to be in there with Tony Stewart. I think that might change my opinion if I ever got to stand in there with Tony Stewart. But the one driver as of today that if I had an opportunity to sit in on their post-race interview, it's got to be Dale Jr. I had the opportunity to be in there at Martinsville when he won the first time, got his first grandfather clock, and that was probably the most entertaining post-race interview that in the media center that I have ever been part of. And that's the one driver that, even though I do not cheer for him, that I would sit in the media center and listen to talk because it was very, very entertaining. The Camping World Series put their stamp on the racing world this weekend with the end of the race there in Canada. As a team owner, I kind of want your opinion on this. On the one side, John Hunter, do you approve of how he did business and won the race? Obviously, Rubbin is racing, but, you got some NASCAR, and NASCAR fans are funny because you hear NASCAR fans talk about we want the boys to be boys, we want, the old school racing back. Then you kind of get this at the Champion World Truck, the race this weekend. Then all of a sudden you got all these NASCAR fans that jump out of the woodwork talking about he should be penalized, that was above and beyond and everything else. I enjoyed the end of the race. Yes, I wanted to see Cole Custer win just for the fact that Nemechek had already won the race. I just wanted to see Custer be able to be into their chase as well, just to make it a fun chase. But I don't necessarily disapprove. As a matter of fact, I got out of my seat when it all happened. It was very entertaining. And then also, if you're the owner of Cole Custer, how are you feeling at this point with you being that close of locking up your opportunity to be in the chase and how the race ended as well? So as an owner, John's side of the house, and as an owner, Cole's side of the house, what is your take on that?
This is PG rated, so I'll keep it as low. At the end of the day, in my eyes, and solely in my eyes, that was low down chicken, what racing. I am very, I'm not a John Hunter Nemechek fan by any means. It just, if anyone knows Cole Custer and been around Cole Custer, that kid is the quietest kid you've probably ever met in your life. He just takes it all in. He's always got a smile on his face. He's a great kid. John Hunter's a good kid. I mean, don't take me wrong, but I don't agree with his way of racing. I've got friends that work over there. I've got, I just don't agree with it. And it's not me. It's I watch the replay time after time, and I'm okay with laying the bumper to somebody and doing that, but running them right to the guardrail in the grass, it's uncalled for. There's no safer walls there. That could have been detrimental. That could have been bad. I mean, there could have been a lot of things that came out of that.
Guys over there too.
We're very fortunate it didn't, but it's just, it made me sick to my stomach. I was pretty vocal in some tweets that I sent out from my personal Twitter account. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. To me, it was dirty. The guys on his team, they work hard week in and week out, no different than everyone in this series.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, so they want to cheer their driver on. They want the driver. But at the end of the day, you just got to sit back and go, was that really necessary? No, it wasn't. If you paid attention to your Twitter and you follow some of these Cup drivers, Kyle Larson, Larry McReynolds, some of the bigger names, figurative names in the industry were very, very upset with the way that went down. There was a lot of stuff on Twitter, as soon as it happened. And at the end of the day, I watched the replay. I did not listen to the interviews or anything like that afterwards. But from what I understand is that everybody was bashing him pretty hard because he just got up there and pretty much said that, he didn't do anything wrong. On the NASCAR side of things, do I think they handled it the right way? Probably not, in my opinion. But I would have done things different if that was the way I had to handle my driver. He's, if you've watched, he's ticked a lot of people off in his early careers, and he's a young kid, and he's won some races. He's won some big races. He's won some very big super late model races, and some people really stepped out and voiced their opinion, that people that he was racing against. And if you pay attention to him, he's hard to race. And I've watched some things that he's done that I don't necessarily agree with, but then again, we're all valued with our own opinions, and from an owner standpoint, I really would have had a hard time going to victory lane. I really would have, because I would have been upset, because I don't race that way, and I don't expect to be raced that way. They tore up to $100,000 trucks. I mean, it's not called for in a lot of situations and a lot of deals, But I understand everything that's at stake. He's obviously already won some races, so he's kind of in the chase deal. I don't know. It was disheartening, at the end of the day when I saw it the first time, and like I said, I'm biased. I just don't agree with his driving style. I don't agree, Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason that the quarter panels are blank on that thing a lot of times. I'm not in that situation every week in and week out, but that's not a good way to attract sponsors. That's not a way, to get to the next step in your career. If you got you got to race with 30 of these guys every week in, week out, they're going to remember that. They're going to, it's going to be in the back of their mind, and you might not get a break the next time. You might, and I hate to say it because I don't want to see anyone hurt in this sport by any means, because, it's something we love to do, and we don't need any of the negativity. But, if I was him, I'd definitely put a little bit bigger mirror in the truck for the next couple races.
Now, my only concern is how NASCAR handles it. We kind of seen the same thing last year. Logano took out Kenseth, regardless how intentional it looked. And then when Kenseth retaliated, which he was blatantly obvious when he retaliated at Martinsville, that's when NASCAR decided to step in. That is my big concern. You kind of built this feud NASCAR has as they go into the chase, and especially with one more race going into the chase. If Cole Custer retaliates, especially if he doesn't make the chase, how do they handle it at that point? That is going to be the point that I'm looking out for, and curious.
I'll be honest with you, it scares me a little bit because we're such a media-driven sport. Like I said, between the media, the Twitters, it's everywhere. It's around us so much. I feel like sometimes NASCAR might make their decisions based on some of that stuff. I'm not 100% sure, but like I said, it's my opinion. It's at the end of the day, the retaliation thing. It's not. The old saying, two wrongs don't make a right. But it just, there's so much pressure to perform. There's so much pressure to make the chase. There's so much pressure on these kids nowadays. Sometimes it doesn't take much. That's something Cole's gonna have to deal with that the way Cole wants to deal with it. But no one knows how he wants to deal with it better than himself. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, he's got to live with what his decision is. If he does retaliate, if he does it the right way or the wrong way in general, But NASCAR as a whole, we can't. The fans might like it, and people might boom social media, but these race cars are very expensive race cars. Someone can easily get hurt. We just got to be smart, and I'm sure NASCAR is going to sit them both down and talk to them, and right, wrong, or indifferent. They're going to view their opinions. They're going to voice their opinions, and they'll probably have a good stern talking to before they both get in vehicles again. But at the end of the day, it's I hate it. I hate it. Marcus Richmond, who was Cole's crew chief, is a good friend of mine and been around him for a long time. He's a great guy, and we talk back and forth all the time. And a couple of years ago at that race, he was crew chiefing Ty Dillon. And if you remember back, Chase Elliott moved Ty Dillon, wins the race, So Marcus, it kind of got dealt to him again, the poor guy. He's just trying to do the best he can from a crew chief standpoint. That's putting that hat on. So it's tough, and tempers. I think I heard there were some guys that had their hard cards taken away. I heard there was some crew-wise, tempers flare, and that all happens. So it's like I said, I wasn't for it. Like I said, I try to be as PG as I can, and it just was a bad deal. It was a bad situation. But like I said, it's everyone's got their own opinion, and that's you're open to that. It's okay. But at the end of the day, what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And I believe it was a bad deal. It was wrong. You don't have to use your vehicle as I don't want to say a weapon, but a battering ram, whatever you want to call it. There's guys that, those kids don't work on these race cars. Let's just face it. There might be one or two that physically would go in the shop and work, and a lot of times these kids are in school. But it goes back to the guys at the shop, the guys that got to deal with it day in and day out. Fixing these things is not fun, and it's it's money, and it's it costs a lot to do this. So let's not make it cost any more. I mean, accidents do happen, stuff does happen, but let's refrain from knocking a whole body off a truck that might be a $20,000 body. It just doesn't add up.
I think what the part that I about when they had the camera on Cole Custer, and you could see him out of the corner of his eye, seeing John on the front stretch, and when he took off and he hurdled that wall like he was an Olympic hurdler and was gone. And Cole Custer's not a small guy by any means. I mean, I'm saying he's an oversized guy, but he is not no athlete, but no marathon runner. Like he's got some size just like me, and for him just to take off and jump that wall and he's gone, I definitely about fell out on that. A couple more things I want to, and then I want to get back to you real quick. NASCAR this year implicated in the lower series the chase for the Xfinity Series Truck Series, and implicated the caution clock of the Truck Series. I don't want you to have to go into great detail, but as we get up to the chase time for those series, and as we've seen the I want to say shot clock, but the caution clock play out a few times, when we've seen it play out this year. Was all those good moves this year for NASCAR, is that building up for a great finish in those series? And was the caution clock a great idea now that we've kind of seen that play out, or are we going to see changes next year, at least with the caution clock, and I guess it depends on how this chase plays out for these series?
I get it. I understand it. Obviously the whole thing getting this weekend, the big hype and the chase and who's going to get in, who's going to get out. Obviously you had Ryan Newman that had some points implications this week. It's just building drama is all it is, and I'm okay with it. I like it from a certain standpoint. It's different. It's not the old norm. You know what I mean? And every or a sport that's constantly changing, and I'm okay with it as long as it's and NASCAR's smart enough. If something's not right, or it might take an extra week or two, but they'll usually make the right call. The caution clock, they're taking the chase deal. They started it in the top series, and now they're kind of working it down to the other two, to where, okay, that's going to work. We're going to try this. Obviously it worked in Cup land. Let's see what it does for our other series. But then they take the caution clock and they're starting it off with the trucks, and is that something we're going to see in Nationwide and Cup? I think it for sure brought a different way of looking at some races. It kind of took the fuel mileage stuff out of it once in a while. And I'm okay with that because I hate fuel mileage races, but it is what it is. It's a race. It happens every weekend. And you just got to deal with the different situations and circumstances. So I'm kind of for it. I've been a part of it. We've run a couple truck races this year with Jesse Little. And so I got to work around it, got to see the differences of it, got to be a part of it just rather than watching it. I'm okay with it. I like it. I think it's something different. It's something new. It makes sense in a lot of ways. Do I think they're going to move it into Nationwide, or Xfinity and Cup Series? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. I think you would probably see it in the Xfinity Series for a year till it got to the Cup Series, and I'm not 100% sure if you'd ever see it get there. I think the Xfinity and Truck would probably be where it stayed. And who knows what they're going to come up with next. That's the great thing about NASCAR race. They're not scared to make changes. They're not scared to do things like that. So It's cool. It's different. It's like I said, it's a different perspective. The way we look at the races, the way we're going to break our race down, the way we're going to do our fuel mileage, our pitting. How it's a curveball. It's just a different side of the sport that you got to look at and say, okay, well, cost get ready to come out, and then I got a chance here where I can pit, benefit myself, and it's different, but I like it. It's different. It's just different, and that's the one thing is they're not staying constant, not staying stagnant in what they're doing. And, when things get stagnant and they get old, and it might hurt the fan base. It might not make things as interesting. I think the race, the way racing is become is, man, caution clock comes out, and okay, we're rack 'em, we're getting ready to go again, and that's some of the most interesting and cool laps of the races every restart. I mean, these guys are duking it out. It's crazy. And it's surprisingly that there hasn't been more wrecks this year on restarts. Just looking at the truck series, because man, those guys got their elbows up and they are digging for everything they got for the first 5, 6, 7 laps of a restart to get that track position. Then they kind of fall in and. You got comers and goers. You got some guys move forward, some guys move back. But then first couple laps, every restart is like, man, these guys are just foot to the floor, elbows up, digging for everything they can get.
I think the thing that amazes me about the truck series is there's so many young, talented drivers, and it kind of gives you something to look forward to as we start to see the Dale Juniors and the Tony Stewarts and these drivers that are getting older and getting their expiration date in the Cup Series is closely getting to the Stewarts as last year. I mean, Jimmy Johnson's no young chicken. Kevin Harvick's not a young chicken either, and so it gives you a lot of hope and a lot of excitement. As we see, we got Kyle Larson that win a couple weeks ago, and we see these young, talented drivers in the Xfinity Series. But and even the rookies this year with Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney and Chris Buescher with his win this year. I'm very excited, especially with the Truck Series. And you brought up Jesse Little, we've had on the show as well. It was a very exciting ordeal to have him on the show. How was that for you guys to have him in the truck and to be running some truck races? And is there more truck races in the future for you guys?
Yeah, there is. I mean, Jesse's a great talent. He's a good kid. I mean, just down to earth. He comes, his summer break, he spent at the race shop every day, and he wants it. He really does. And, the truck racing stuff with him this year, we had a great truck at Bristol. Had a really bad pit stop twice, and then he got a little aggravated and he sped on pit road, and it put him behind the 8 ball to say. But we were 8th coming down pit road the first stop, and we went out 18th. And it's just the truck series is so competitive and so hard, and you got all these young kids trying to make a name for themselves, and you're only as good as your last race, and they're looking for the sponsorship. They're just trying to be the next Eric Jones, the next Chase Elliott, So with the truck races with Jesse this year, we got rain. We went to Charlotte and had a very good truck, and it rained, not having points because we're only running a limited amount of races with them in the truck. We went home, and I think we were 10th or 11th on the sheet in practice, and really look forward to the race. And old Mother Nature stepped out, and that's where we're at, But Jesse and some of these younger kids are just trying to break into it. They've got the talent. We joke with Jesse all the time. He's got a little mullet kind of hairdo, and we always pick on him because the girls are always liking it. He's just a good kid. He's always smiling. He's always upbeat, and he's got the talent. It's just he's doing the best he can, and let's face it, it's hard to find that money to go further to run a full truck deal. But they're spending everything they can to get into that next level. We're going to run a couple more truck races this year. Tentatively, we're going to run Loudon with Jesse. going to try Texas, I think, on the schedule. Terry, my partner, we're going to run him at Talladega, which is something that he's had circled for probably since Talladega last year, to get out and get in the truck again and do some speedway racing. So we got some stuff going on truck wise, but these young kids, man, you're 100% right when you say it. The youth and the truck series, and the William Byrons, and there's so many young little kids. This William Byron, he's an exception. The kid's great. I mean, he is fast. I mean, he's another Rette Jones, And there's other kids out there that have that talent. They might not just have the money or backing to get them in a KBM truck, So there's probably 10 other kids that can go out and do what William Byron does. Fortunately, for William, he's in the right position. He's in the best stuff. He's in, the latest technology and a very good organization, so he's able to shine. So, like I said, I mean, the Jesse Littles and even Cole Custer, that kid, the kid's good. I mean, he's good. He's a good racer. He's a smart racer, and he's fast. Every time you watch him, he's fast. So there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them that are there. So it looks positive for our sport moving forward. And sometimes the Greg Biffles and the Tony Stewarts, and they got to step down from what they're doing, and hopefully these kids can step in and fill the shoes. Look at Kyle Larson. Who would have thought it would have taken Kyle Larson 99 races? I watched that kid in a dirt car 6-7 years ago or whatever it was, and I was like, wow, just totally blown away by his talent. And finally got one, and I, he was there. It's no different than like we were talking about Dominique earlier. As soon as she gets that one win behind her belt, I honestly believe it's going to be lights out. And you look at Kyle. He was right there at the end. One weekend, another weekend, right down the road. He's after that win, he was ready to win another one. Truex had a great car, and go ahead.
Even the races recently. I mean, he's been finishing top 5, top 6 finishes. I think they said like 4 of his last races have all been, right there. So, we knew it was eventually coming, and the direction I thought he was going when you were talking about Dominique is I feel Kyle was kind of in the same spot where just kind of the wrong place and just getting mixed up and stuff and just having bad breaks. Because Kyle's definitely raced his butt off the last couple of years, and I think everybody thought it was going to be that first year he was going to be a rookie winner and not take 99 races. And a lot of it I think was just chalked up to either a bad pit stop or being at the wrong place at the wrong time, or a part malfunction or whatever the case would be. There wasn't too many critical errors by Kyle Larson. I just think, another driver that I feel that way is Jamie Mack. I think Jamie Mack should have a lot more wins than he does. He's a very respectful driver. He's not over-aggressive. I just feel that he just always happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and gets the bad end of a lot of situations. Speaking of Dominique, we're wrapping up her season for the 2016 season, and knowing what you've seen out of her and knowing your guys' equipment, out of the couple races she's got left, which one do you feel most confident that she'll find herself into victory lane?
It's no different. I go to the weekend. I go to the race every race weekend, thinking this is going to be the weekend. Because I know the talent she has, I know the determination she has. We've got great equipment, we've got great speed. This weekend, this past week, Monday, she saw it. She realized that she put the whole deal together. She was ecstatic. It was great. It was a win for us. And we finally didn't have the stupid stuff happen. She showed phenomenal speed on the road courses this year and totally impressed me. So, and then to sit on the outside at Bristol, sit on the outside pole at Bristol earlier this year, that's Bristol's not easy, and Bristol's got a lot of the same tendencies, a lot of the same, things as Dover. It's just a bigger Bristol. So, I mean, to be honest with you, just sitting here, you know, going into the next 2 races, there's no doubt in my mind we can't win either one and or both. And that's what I want. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, we're going to work hard and get our stuff together. And I feel like we've got a good road course package. We've been strong both road course races this year. I felt like at VIR, up until a slight incident, we drove all the way to 3rd, and our lap times were way better than the front 2 guys. And unfortunate circumstance happened, and we had an issue with getting into somebody and hurting a radiator. You know, she loves the road course race, and she got used to it and figured it out at VIR. She was hooting and hollering on the radio just because how much fun she was having, and that's cool. You know, I mean that's awesome when a driver, you know, they're having that much fun and they're out there and they're doing the things that they know they can do, and they just prove it to themselves. You know, like I said, going into Dover, either one of them, I feel for sure that we're taking 2 great race cars. Actually, the car that she ran at Greenville this past weekend will be the car that we run at Dover, which is the same car she sat on the outside pole with at Bristol earlier this year. So I feel like both cars they're ready to go. We're just doing some fine tuning. I'm ready for the next 2, and I'm ready to get to next year. I mean, I'm ready already thinking about January, you know, and getting together and going, because there's some big things to come. She's gonna, you know, I just, now that she realizes who she's dealing with, what she's dealing with week in and week out on the racetrack, and learning the tires and learning, you know, the car control that she's learned this year. Honestly, I don't think there's not a doubt in my mind that we can't go out and win the championship next year and contend for a lot of race wins. I think it's just it's going to be the perfect package. I'm really excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it. I was, you know, obviously when we were on this earlier this year, I was pretty excited. I couldn't wait to get going and doing those things, and it's just, I'm that much more excited moving into next year.
I bet so. Mark, first of all, I want to thank you for giving us your time. It amazes me sometimes. Usually I say it amazes me how quick 30 minutes go by, but tonight I got to say it amazes me how quick an hour went by.
For sure.
And you know, when Miss Lee sent over the email to let us know who was coming on the show and over the next couple of weeks, she even made a comment when she sent it, because she forwarded me the same email that she forwarded to Mike, or sent to Mike, that this is CJ's buddy. This is somebody that CJ really loves having on the show, and you know, and I sent to Mike a message and told him I was sorry, but you're just one of those guests that come on that I really enjoy talking to. I love getting your perspective, especially from the owner's side of the house. And I just one of those guests that I feel that I really click with, and you just give such good, long explanation answers, and I just really, truly enjoy having you on the show. And so I do want to thank you. I wasn't sure, Miss Lee wasn't sure how much she cleared an hour for it, but she wasn't sure how much time you had available for it. And so I was trying to play it by ear to see how long you would let it go. But I do very much appreciate you coming on the show, and appreciate you giving us all this time. I definitely want to wish you the best of luck. The last couple of races with Dominique, and of course the Truck Series races you guys got coming up. I hope and we'll see multiple Rette Jones Racing victories before this season's out. Love to have an opportunity to get you back on at the end of the season, so we can wrap up your guys' season and how everything ended up finishing out. Kind of replay and talk about some of the whatever topics that come up between now and the end of the year and NASCAR in general, and kind of get a jump start on what you guys are actually laying the groundwork for the off season for 2017. But I do wish you the best of luck. I want to, from the bottom of my heart, and I wish that the series, it was running to Kentucky in a couple weeks, so I'm going to be out there the 23rd to the 25th. As I got to miss the next 3 days, I'm going to be at Bristol next week for the Virginia Tech-Tennessee game. The following week, I'm catching up with Erica Enders and the Pro Stock driver here in Charlotte for the Nationals, and then the following week is Kentucky. And, I made a point, one, to get to the Nationals so I could talk to and thank Miss Erica for coming on the show the last couple of years. And more specifically, I made sure that we got into the Kentucky race, the ARCA series, and the Xfinity series. There's a lot of drivers that have been on the show, a lot of owners that, I've had relations with and their PRs. And I want to make a point to, be face-to-face and thank each of these people for, giving us their time and helping us continue to grow what we're doing here. And it is one of those things that I really, at one point or another, would love to have an opportunity to do the same with you, especially with all your drivers coming on the show and you coming on the show and giving us all your time that you do and being such an informative guest. But one day we will make that happen. But like I said, I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for joining us tonight, and I do wish you the best of luck and you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Hey, let's make it a week. Let's make it every week spot. I'm good with that. I love to share, our stories and share my perspective on some things. And, sometimes people don't always agree with me, but I always use that in my opinion kind of thing a lot. Then you definitely, you get out to Charlotte or whatever, just, look us up. Obviously, you've got contacts with Chris Knight, who does all our PR stuff. Hook up with Chris and let's get hooked up and hang out and talk racing. It's our life, it's our blood, it's what we do. So, I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate everything with Dominique and putting her on and helping. That's awesome, man.
We can definitely clear a spot for you every week. All you got to do is say the word, the time, and what day, and we can definitely, if it not be weekly, it can be bi-weekly, once a month, whatever the case, whatever you got open, I guarantee, I got a poll here. I got a little poll here. Miss Lee holds a tightrope and keeps me in check, and thank God for Miss Lee. I do not know where we would be without Miss Lee. But I can promise you, if we set something up, we can make this happen, and we can make this a regular thing. So we'll figure something out. But I do very much appreciate you coming on, and I do hope that we see one of your vehicles in victory lane, and you definitely want to what was I going to say? Oh, I hope you have a great night.
I appreciate it. Like I said, anytime, guys, definitely pay attention to the social media stuff, and I'll let you in on a little bit. We got some big things happening behind the scenes right now, and I really hope I can announce some stuff here in the next couple of weeks. So, I'm just ecstatic to where I'm at. Everything that Terry's done for me, my partner and all this, finally it's we work hard, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, and we're starting to put some stuff together that I'm really, really, really excited about. So like I said, I'd love to be able to share that stuff with you when we get to that point, and just keep in contact with Chris, and we'll go from there and talk racing.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You have a great night.
Thank you. You guys too.
Thank you. That was Mark Rette of Rette Jones Racing, and as you all, I promise y'all an interesting, very informative, entertaining conversation, and that's exactly what we just got, and that's why when Miss Lee booked this is why I got the email that I got, and Mike, now you might understand a little bit more now why that comment in on the schedule, because every time I've had Mark. So it's been that's the way it is. We got our next guest in the studio, and I do apologize for making you wait, Ali. But we want to get her in the studio. She's been waiting patiently. We got Ali Owens joining us. We're going to get her on. We've not forgot our NFL picks after we get her on the show. We are going to do our NFL picks, so you guys hang out in overtime because once the show ends at 10 o'clock, we're going to extend the show so we can get our NFL picks on. NFL picks in since the season starts tomorrow, and this is the last show of this week for the 110 Nation Sports Show. Not the last show of the week for the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, as we got Racing with Big Sweat tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Hot Laughs with Stats Friday night, 8 p.m. Happy Hour Garage, noon on Saturday. And then we're going to wrap things up with my final thoughts with Mr. CJ Sports, yes, with myself, Sunday night at 8 o'clock. But let's go ahead and get our guest in here without any more delays. I hate making my guests wait, but let's go ahead and get her in the studio. Ali, how you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. It's a great night. This is and the same thing happened last night. This is the perfect scenario for me, and this is what I truly love. I love having a returning guest, so I get to catch up on how the seasons went, or whatever the case may be, and then getting a fresh face on the show, so I get to learn something about somebody and meet somebody new. And this is 2 nights in a row we've gotten this, so I'm beyond ecstatic tonight. I'm glad to have you on. Before we jump into this, I do this with all the athletes. I want to give you an opportunity to plug social media, whether Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever you have to use for your fans to be able to keep up with you. Also, team site, web, personal sponsors, anything you want to throw out there. So not only the fans can keep up with you this year, but also moving forward in your career.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with us, and it kind of all spun off, is just the social media. When I first got into racing, it was just coming out, so it's really neat to see how it has evolved. But I definitely encourage everybody to follow us. We have been doing video logs and all types of video lives and just interacting with the fans. So if you follow Obica Racing on Facebook and also Ali Owens, and it's ALLI, on Facebook, we're doing so much this week. Obviously, being able to come back and debut in the NASCAR Xfinity Series is really huge. We want to be as accurate and live as possible, so doing that is through social media. Definitely check us out on Facebook. That's where we're doing our biggest push right now. And even tomorrow, I'll be going live at 2 o'clock on Obica Racing Facebook page. If you check them out, I'll be answering any questions. I'll be live at Richmond. We're actually on the road right now. We're going through Jacksonville. Heading northbound 95 to Richmond, so we'll be going live on Facebook tomorrow at 2 p.m. And, yeah, just check us out there. MobileRacing.com. They have a lot of great information on what's going on. Obviously, I've been in a hiatus in retirement for 5 years, so there's not much going on my website yet, but we are hitting this at full speed on social media and just building our platform from there.
I'm going to, because I consumed about 99% of the last guest. I'm going to give Mike the opportunity to start off this one so I don't consume all the time. I got some questions for you, but I'm going to let Mike jump in here first before I consume all the rest of the time.
Okay. I'm interested because I always do this with guests on my show as well as when I help CJ out. Is there one track that you run in your career that you feel is your favorite or that you're most comfortable at versus any of the others?
I think if you would ask anybody in the racing industry, they would probably feel most comfortable putting me at a speedway, a super speedway. I do really good with plate races, and I love being in the draft. I love the intensity of it. Actually, your last guest, Mark Rette, it was his car in 2009 that kicked me off the pole position. I qualified outside pole at Daytona. But I think for me, driver-wise, I really like the rough and difficult tracks. I really enjoy in the ARCA series Salem. It's just one of those tracks that doesn't get a lot of notification and interest, but I love Salem. As far as more of the NASCAR type of tracks in that circuit, Pocono is an awesome track for me. We've done very well there. But I'm really looking forward to the races coming up, as far as Chicago, Kansas, Kentucky, those type of tracks. I feel best fit my style of driving.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was shooting for, because most of the people that we talk to have one track, and I know on my show as well, even the short tracks or the local tracks, where they do well, and the touring guys, where they do well on one track over another, or at a location because they're so used to it, or they have luck with it. So that's where that question came from. I'm just always interested when I talk to them in person, if what their favorite situation is. Is there a favorite when you started racing or whatever, and you go to different areas? Is there one particular car that you're more comfortable in terms of the series, or do you see yourself moving around or being up in different types of cars, and where are you most comfortable?
I think I would consider myself a very versatile driver. I grew up racing. Well, I first started racing on bicycles, so anything with a motor is entertaining to me. I started racing on the dirt tracks in the pure stock, mini stock divisions, and then transferred over to the asphalt and ran mini stocks and late models, and then went into running the ARCA cars. And from ARCA cars, I obviously tested with Roush and did the Cup cars and Nationwide cars for them, testing, and then running the Craftsman trucks at that point in time. And just kind of feeling a little bit of everything. And then now that I've kind of been in my little retirement mode, I've actually done some dirt midgets as well. So I think the greatest thing about how I was brought up was that we didn't have money to go and spend and really hone in on one particular thing. And I kind of went where the opportunity went. So I got to drive a lot of different cars. And when I ran, like, the ARCA series, I had to kind of jump from thing to thing. And, at this point now in my career, just being able to jump from different types of style of a car and never spend too much time in one thing, I think it's really helped me and will propel me to go further, with this opportunity that I have now with the Xfinity series, is because I'm used to different. I'm used to having to adapt to different styles of cars, different styles of tracks, different scenarios, all together. So I think that's one thing I really pride myself on, as far as being a very versatile driver, where you could pick me up and put me in anything and give me a couple, laps, and I'll get right to the point and figure it out and be able to work from there. So as far as my favorite, I mean, there's nothing better than slinging dirt. But, to get further in my career and, really capitalize on the opportunity, obviously I would need to be on asphalt and NASCAR. So that's where I find myself at now.
Right. I know with the Xfinity series, it's interesting because, I always tend to think, like, what happens in terms of where people get their break. And when I basically cover the Northeast, and what happened with a person that I know, not well, but he's always around the Long Island area, was Ryan Priest, and he got his break with Xfinity within the last 2 years, and is running them as well, that series, as well as asphalt modifieds on Long Island and in the Northeast. And basically, how did you get your break? Was it just somebody that saw you and basically gave you the break, which is basically what happens, I guess? Was it a team owner or who actually saw you and offered you offered to help you move?
Well, the biggest thing is, a lot of people, if you follow racing, my name was pretty well known from 2007 to about early 2011. Kind of when everybody was projecting me to make my breakthrough in NASCAR and climb up through the series. It was right around the time Danica was coming over to NASCAR. It was kind of like, is it going to be Danica? Is it going to be Ali? And then basically from the public eye, I just vanished. And actually what happened was I was married at the time, and my husband at the time and I we decided that we wanted to start a family. So I have 2 little girls. My oldest is 5. Her name's Braylon. And then my little one, Addison, she's 3. So I stepped away and really focused on, growing my family, becoming a mom. And unfortunately, when I was getting back into the NASCAR thing and working with NASCAR in 2013 to return back to the Camping World Truck Series, I went through a divorce. So my sights weren't, everything didn't line up right. So I just kind of stepped back. And at that point, when you're faced to be a single mom, a single parent in general, there's a lot of things that come before you. So there was a lot of things that I had to put before racing. And now that I kind of got everything figured out and doing well and established myself in a different career, I had kind of accepted the fact that maybe I wasn't going to be a professional race car driver anymore and just kind of playing around on the dirt track, like that. And then I get a call out of the blue from one of the gentlemen that I used to work with back in 2009, Dan Leon, and he was just kind of telling me, about this team, Bike Racing, and he's like, Ali, you're a mom. You're a really good race car driver. You need to get back in the car. I think you need to talk to this team because the team owner, he's from Nigeria. He's very diverse. He's wanting to do big things in the sport and come at it at a very different angle and a different approach. And he's like, I think you guys will click well. So I kind of was like, well, what's it going to hurt? To talk to this guy, and nothing has ever transpired for me easily, ever, in racing. It's always been like, here comes a big break, and then it drops. And it's just been this huge roller coaster of emotion of like, okay, we got a deal, and no, we don't. Okay, we got another deal, and no, we don't. And it just was so emotionally, mentally draining that I just didn't think anything of it. I'm like, all right, I'll talk to this team and see what they have to say. And within the first conversation with, Victor Obaika, the team owner, everything just clicked. There was just good chemistry. I believe in what he's trying to do within the sport of NASCAR. I think it's a good fit with me. And I'm just ready to tell my story now. I'm ready to come out there. I'm 28 now. So when I raced, and was in the middle of the limelight, I was 19, 20, 21 years old. Still a kid. Thought I knew everything. And I think it kind of plays in a really neat perspective when life takes control and you're just like, you gotta go along with the ride. And I never understood why things didn't happen for me at that time in my life. But I'm thankful they didn't because I've gotten a lot wiser. I've grown so much as a person. I've grown so much as a business professional. And now kind of coming back around full circle, I basically got my break because the stars aligned and, everybody's ready to see, is there going to be a new wave in NASCAR? And maybe it's a mom that needs to break the barrier.
Right.
So the stars just aligned, and here we go. Going to Richmond.
Yeah, and it's just, you brought up a fact, too, or a point that, we've always stressed on the 110 Nation and all the drivers that we speak to. Most of them is the connections, either the sponsorship or the connections of some sort. If you, even like in your case, if you have to step away for a situation or not, in it, you just keep those connections, and it pays off down the line.
I think if there's anybody that's listening that's up and coming, or anybody that is like trying to make it into the sport, you have to know how to network and realize that even though racing is your passion and it's what you do, and you are the best wheelman out there at your local track, or you are the best in the region or whatever, you have to step out of that driver's seat for 2 seconds, put it on the back burner, and develop yourself as a business professional and think of this as a business. You have to, at this point in the game, obviously the sport has evolved. It's not so much on driver talent anymore as it is, what is this driver going to do for me, and how is it going to help me become a better team owner? How is it going to take my team to the next level? How is it going to bring more money into my team? And that's just the reality of it. It's not a secret. That's what it is. And if you don't come from money and you don't come from a background that can cut a check to one of these teams and put your butt in a seat, you have to become a better marketing tool. You have to become something that is of value to a team. And what is that? If you've got the driving part down, then work on yourself and network and be in front of these people, be in front of their face. Do whatever you have to do to make them remember your name. And whether that's going to Mooresville and sweeping floors in a shop or going to the racetrack and just networking, whatever you can do, that is how you're going to get an opportunity in the sport at this day and age.
Right. I know, you mentioned again about the marketing angle of it, and I know I've spoken to people that I know personally from the track that I cover, and we had him on a couple of times on my show, and I know he's going to be. I saw something today that he's going to be on Steve's show tomorrow night, and that's John Visconti, who goes out and does fan meet and greets all the time, and outside of his sponsor's place, which basically one of his sponsors is Applebee's, and he's constantly doing bringing the car and so forth. So, like you say, the team. It's not so much the driver that's in the seat. I mean, once you're on the track, it is, but it's also the main focus, like you say, or one of the main focuses now is sponsorship and getting out there and getting noticed. Before you even.
100%. Yeah, one of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned, and it was had nothing to do with racing. After I got out of racing and I became a single mom, I had to find a job. I had to get working, and I was working at an assisted living facility, and I had to go to corporate training, and they just honed in on branding. And I'm like, all right. And of course, regardless of anything in my life, I'm a racer due to the core. I always transpire that into racing, and I'm like, oh, you know what? It's always been about a brand. And knowing what your brand is and owning your brand and who you are and what you represent is so powerful. If you represent, if you're a hunter and you like outdoors, and that's your brand. If you're more of Holly, whatever your brand is, you got to find your brand and what you represent. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What can you relate to? Those are the people and the companies that you have to target because you can relate to it. You can talk about that naturally. And
right.
That is the key to what I found that, when I want to go back in racing and I want to put my mind to it and I want to get down and dirty and I really want to get back in the seat, that's the first thing I go to. I reevaluate my brand at that point in my life. Okay, where am I at? What is my brand? How can I market myself? What companies am I going to be valuable to? There's no point in me going to a Mac Tools and be like, hey, guess what? I'm a mom. They're going to be like, cool, guess what? We sell the guys. And, and, so you got to figure out what your brand is, and that's how you develop sponsorship. That's how you find these sponsors that are interested in you because you are their brand. You are their walking billboard, and that's how you get to the next level with the money part.
Right, and so much of it, too, is just to follow up on that a little bit would, from my perspective in terms of my show and people I talk to on the local track level, when a person does move up, whether it be a driver or a team, into another division, so much of the time they take the sponsors with them, and because they have long-time sponsorship on one car, they just say, yeah, we'll join you and spend the additional money that it may take to go into another division because you have that connection to them, and it's just because you move up and want to spend more money or want to go into a division that might be more money than what you were doing, they're more apt to come with you because you have that relationship with them.
Oh yeah, 100%, absolutely. I mean, that's not. I read an article just yesterday I found on Kyle Larson how him and his dad came up to Mooresville and went to every single race team and race shop and talked to everybody, and everybody wanted to give Kyle an opportunity, but he had to bring $500,000 to the table. And that's Kyle Larson. You know what I mean? And, he went with Ganassi because that was the only team that didn't want it. So, I mean, it's like that at every level and every driving ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that article as well, and I found that to be very interesting. I didn't realize what it was like and, what these team owners these days was kind of expecting out of the drivers before they even got into the car. So I found that to be rather interesting. I want to take a trip down memory lane real quick and ask you a few things. What got you into racing, and how old was you when you first started racing?
I actually got into racing BMX bikes when I was 7 years old. And I grew up in a neighborhood where it was just a bunch of boys, those makeshift ramps that everybody sees, and just jump on your bike and, getting the scuffed knees and elbows. And one of our neighbors went out to the local BMX track, and I'm like, if this kid can do it, I can definitely do this. And so we went out there, and my dad bought a bike and just started getting really good at it, actually. And by the time that I was 12 years old, I was factory sponsored and racing for money, and I was competing for national championships, state championships. I actually won the President's Cup, which is the top 10 riders from every state compete, and I won that and was invited to go represent the United States, which is now the Olympic trials. Back then it was just competing for the world title. And I had my USA gear, had my jersey and everything ready to go to Italy, and my dad bought my little brother a quarter midget. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. How come my brother, who's 7 years younger, gets a motor and I still have to pedal this thing? I'm like, nope. Sell the bikes. I want a car. And we went, we did quarter midget racing, and I didn't really care for that too much. I wanted to go faster. And so we built a dirt car when I was 12 years old, and the rest is history.
And how tough was it for you growing up? I know, and I know how hectic my childhood was, and I play sports, but it's nothing near what you've experienced. I played football, I played baseball, I bowled, and unfortunately played in the neighborhood. But and then getting into high school, I did extra activities. I was in ROTC before I went to the military and all that kind of stuff. But I imagine what it was like growing up and trying to maintain somewhat of a normal childhood. And when I say that, hanging out with kids and watching TV shows and talking on the phone, and and this is the day where you didn't have a cell phone, so you couldn't just call anybody anywhere. You had to actually be somewhere. How difficult was it to maintain having somewhat of a normal childhood at the same time building this career that you were working on?
It was intense. It was. It's funny because we rented a van because me and my fiance, and he has a son and my two daughters and my mom and dad, so we're all in the van. So I'm either going to get thrown a pillow at my head when I talk about this, or they're going to smile. So we're going to figure out how this goes. But back from when we raced BMX, you figure 7, 8 years old, I would come home from school, and the first thing you would do is just, go play. And my dad was like, look, if you're going to do this seriously, get on your bike and let's go do sprints, sprint down the road. And, I had to do a certain amount of sprints before I was able to go, play. And I hated it. I'm like, come on, seriously, why are we doing this? And, it's funny because look back at it now, it was just a whole bunch of, just discipline. If you're going to focus, you got to focus 100%. And then, when we got into the quarter midgets, I don't come from a racing family. I'm the first generation racer. So we had to learn everything together. And, at that point in time, me and my dad were just taking apart these quarter midgets and trying to learn them. And, we spent every weekend racing. And that was my life. Even with BMX, we would travel the country. I remember my mom coming to school, talking to the principal, and getting my homework for weeks at a time because I just wasn't there. We were on the road constantly, and it was just always such a family environment that when it got to where I was becoming more of that preteen, teenager, middle school environment, it was really frustrating at times because I just wanted to go to the movies. I wanted to call the boys. I wanted to do those things, and I couldn't, and it was because we had, we had to put everything into what we were doing, and I had to work on these cars. I remember being 13 years old, and I had a Volkswagen Scirocco pure stock, and I remember me and my one friend that lived down the road underneath our carport taking the rear end out of, this axle out of the Scirocco and making nothing of it. Like, it's normal. Why doesn't this other 12-year-old girl who is, like, all dolled up not know how to turn a wrench? I don't understand. Like, it was really difficult because I didn't fit in, but I did at the same time. So, my friends never really wanted to come to the racetrack or be involved. And as I got into high school, and the boyfriend thing came into play, I will never forget, I had this boyfriend my freshman year of high school, and we were building my mini stocks for asphalt at that time. And he's like, do we have to go work on the cars tonight? Just like, what kind of guy are you? Yes, duh. We got to go racing. Why are you asking me this question? And it just, it was really interesting to see how it all played out. And I remember standing in my prom dress at the store, ready to buy my prom dress, and my dad called, and he's like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm getting ready to buy my prom dress. He's like, no, you're not. We have to race in Bronson. We have, the Goodyear Challenge Series race. You're not going to prom. And I'm like, yes, I am. He's like, okay, well, then the race cars can be set. They park the race cars. I cannot do this without you. And so I didn't go to prom, and I was, like, so frustrated. But looking back at it, it's like I was so disciplined, so young, that coming in it now, I know what it takes to be at each and every level of the sport and how to truly climb up the ladder without it being just handed to me. Like, I never was able to have it handed to me. If I wasn't working on the cars, the race car set. And that transpired into a whole book of knowledge when Friday, where I got to communicate with my crew chief. I know how these cars work. I know what's in them. And it just has really set me up to succeed, even though it was very challenging growing up.
Now, at what point in your career, as you was growing up, did you know that this was you, that this is what you definitely wanted to do, this is what you wanted to make a career of, and you knew that you could be successful at it? At what point did it click?
When I was 16, and my parents came to me, and my mom had, the whole tears in her eyes, and I'm thinking, oh, great, this is going to go one way or the other. And they're like, look, we just cannot financially support you running these late models. We just can't do it. We gave it our best shot. We just, as a family, we can't. At this point, they'd already taken a second mortgage out on their house and, did whatever they had to do to keep me in these cars. And now being an adult, I'm looking at them like, dang, but you guys sacrificed a lot to get to where we were. Mm-hmm. And, the for sale sign went on the race car. And as soon as the for sale sign went on the race car, I was like, no way. This is not happening. I am meant to be a race car driver. And that day, me and my friend, we rode around the Daytona Beach area and was looking for sponsorship. And I stumbled across electrical contractor. And I had my little pamphlet I made up in school and my little PowerPoint I did. And I was like, look, I need $10,000 for tires for the whole season. And I broke it down in installments and payments. And I went into this guy, and he's like, did you do this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know what? I was just going to entertain you and then send you on your way because you are, whatever. And he's like, but this is nice. He's like, I'm going to do this. And I went home, and I'm like, Dad, I got $10,000. He's like, okay, we'll keep the cars. And I'm like, I'm going to North Carolina. Whatever I got to do to get myself there. So I went to school and got with my guidance counselor, and I was like, look, I can race in the Cup Series at 18, so we kind of got to speed this whole high school thing up. So how are we gonna do that? And she looked at me like what did you just do in the parking lot type of thing? And I did. I graduated high school in 3 years on an accelerated program and moved to Mooresville when I was 17. And my friends and my mom and my dad and all my family, they all stayed in Florida, and I went and did it. But I did it because in high school, I was already lining up sponsorship to make it happen. But I would say right around that 15, 16, however old I was, when reality came time to it, where, the race cars were going away, and I was not going to have it.
Now, with your background and the struggle and you going out finding your sponsor and making this career continue on, what does it mean to you to not only be back into racing, but having your opportunity this Friday to debut in the Xfinity Series?
To be honest, it's obviously been emotional. It's been, mentally kind of like challenging. It's one of those things like how my career, stopped after, the kid part. I was prepared for it, but I wasn't. So before my first child, we actually made an attempt to run the truck race at Daytona, and I had lost my sponsorship that I had for 4 years because of the politics. I mean, I was sponsored by the union in D.C., so they when the political stuff and all the economy went to crap, they had to focus on their money and their budget. So I was kind of cut out of the piece of the puzzle very abruptly, and we tried to make an effort. I went through social media. I started a GoFundMe account, and my stands raised $30,000 within like 2.5 weeks. Like it was crazy. It was the coolest thing I've ever been a part of, and I was so hyped up. I'm like, all right, this is it. We're gonna do this as a privateer, and we're gonna make this truck race, and I'm gonna go out there and kick butt. And we in practice. It was right after they repaved the track, and like the trucks were running 205 miles an hour, and they pulled us in. They're like, no way, you guys can't run that fast. Well, being a privateer, you don't have an engine tuner, so we had to pull the plate. And anyway, long story short, we missed the race. We didn't make the race. We missed it by like 2 spots. And in my entire life, even in BMX, I've never missed the race, ever. I've always made it. And I felt my knees. I have never felt so much just like my heart is like breaking, and I just could not console myself. And I just remember saying, like, this was it. Like, my best friend Jessica was there. I'm like, Jessica, this is it. I'm never going to have it again. It's gone. And, like, just from that point, 2011, I have never been able to recover from it. Like, there are days when my kids are with their dad and I'm by myself and I'm just thinking about it and, like, we'll cry. I mean, like, literally just cry. Just because, not because of, like, how things went in my career. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that I would do different. But just because I never had the closure. I never got to see, did I really have what it took to get there? Like, am I good enough to race with these guys? I never got that closure. So when this opportunity, and it took me from 2011 to 2016 to get over it. So like, okay, you can. There's life after racing. You will survive. You can survive. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call, and it's like, dang it, man, I just got over this. And then it's like one of those things, like, do I take the chance and see where it goes from here, or is this just going to be another, like, letdown? And, I had thought about it, and took about a week and a half to get back to the team owner. And I was just like, I will never be able to forgive myself if I don't try, if I don't get there and try. So it's one of those things where I truly believe things happen for a reason, and just go with the flow, because never in a million years, if you would have asked me a month ago, do you think you'll ever race in NASCAR? I'd been like, no. and then it happened. I cannot explain to you how it happened. I did not pursue it. I did not go out looking for it. It happened. And I'm like, that's just a sign, like, I need to get in this car and see what happens. So there's a lot to process in a short amount of time. Like, this literally happened, I feel like overnight. And I even work today. I work a 9-to-5 job. I'm, like, working, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm leaving for Richmond today. Like, I'm racing, like, this week. I'm racing in 2 days. Like, what is going on with my life right now? I'm like, is this my reality? And, it's just, it hasn't sunk in yet. I'm really excited to see what it feels like to strap in that race car, fully geared, pulling out on pit road. I'm either going to be a hot mess of tears, or I'm going to have a huge smile on my face. So either way, I'll be pretty satisfied, I think.
Have you ever ran at Richmond, and how confident are you feeling about being at Richmond?
I've never run at Richmond. There's a lot of tracks on the schedule that I have raced at. Durarka. Richmond is not one of them. My crew chief is Bobby Burrell. Well, he won't be my crew chief this week, but we'll be working together in the future. But him and I spent a lot of time on the phone today and yesterday, and just kind of going through the track and these cars. And just he's like very similar to Iowa, and I've been watching a lot of in-car video on YouTube and just like listening to like it's funny because if a normal person would watch like the recap of like Richmond, they would just kind of be like watching the exterior part of it, but I'm like listening for the pickup, the throttle pickup, the lift points and different things like that, and trying to figure it out. So I have an hour and 55 minutes on Friday to learn these cars, learn this track, and get back into the race mode.
Wow. And I'm curious, you spoke of kids. Will you be trying to promote a second generation of racers? Or even if you're not promoting, if they come to you, will you, I'm not going to say it loud because obviously at some point they're going to make their own decisions, but if they come and ask you, would you open your arms to the idea of there being a second generation of racers in your family?
I mean, if that's what they want to do, I'm not going to lie, because I do have a quarter midget sitting in my garage right now. Right now, my oldest daughter, her soccer season starts next week. I'm going to be assistant coaching that as much as I can. I coached her Little League T-ball team. My youngest daughter starts T-ball, so if they want to do it, their dad is the car chief for Ben Kennedy's K&N team, so they have it on my side, they have it on his side. They're around it so much. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they have interest to do it. It's just another thing too. I mean, and I kind of reflect back to the whole, trying to kind of guide your kids in the right direction. If they want to go racing and they want to try it out, they're going to have to come up the same way I did. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of lessons learned from Mom, but still being able to be engaged in it on a daily basis. And if they still want it each and every day, and they wake up and they don't mind going to get their hands dirty, and they don't mind, having to work for it, it's just not being handed to them, then absolutely. But I don't ever want to be that parent that just enables my child just because I have the means to do it. I want them to find their own passion and their own desire, and if that's behind the wheel of a race car, then so be it. If it's cheerleading and dancing, I mean, I don't really have a lot of experience in that department, but I can try. I mean, I am a girl, so maybe it will come naturally. I don't know. I think race cars come way more natural than that stuff, but we'll see how it goes. If any of my two are going to do it, and you'll probably see a lot of her if you guys haven't followed us on Facebook at all, my little one, Addie, she is by karma to the bone. She is crazy. She's 100% her mama, so I would not be surprised if she pops out that she wants to go drive a race car.
I got two more quick questions. I'm going to get you out of here, and I want to thank you. You're a very energetic, bubbly, go-happy person, guest. I don't know if you've heard of these two drivers, but Amber Balkan, she just won recently. She's the first Canadian female driver to win a NASCAR sanctioned event, and Hannah Newhouse. Both of them that come on the show, they are very energetic, bubbly, talkative people, and that's who you remind me of. But my final two questions are, one, I know that you finally got over this and wasn't looking for an opportunity, but an opportunity has presented itself in front of you. Let's say that you have a great outing at Richmond, and other opportunities start knocking at your door to maybe say that there's a full-time ride in one of the top series that gets offered to you. Would you be interested in taking that opportunity and get drawn back into having a racing career?
There's a lot of talks of that now. I've been working a lot with NASCAR over the last few days. They're very interested, obviously, to see kind of what I'm going to do from here. Like I said, I'm not a young, up-and-coming race car driver anymore. I have a lot of responsibilities, and, one of those is making sure that, my kids are going to be okay with this and working it out with them, and just being able to kind of do it the right way. I'm very family-oriented. I obviously don't want to be selfish and say 100% I'm going to be on board. It's got to work out for everybody, and do it right. And what I mean by that, sometimes I feel like I'm too much of like a Tony Stewart where I just kind of word vomit. So I need to make sure that I'm going to be able to kind of do it how I want to do it and represent my story and who I am and where I come from. I'm very blue collar. I'm, the girl next door. Like, I seriously am in, like, my team owner put it in perspective. He's like, Ali, you are an ordinary person about to do an extraordinary thing. And that's the message that I want to carry. And I think last time when I had the opportunity to be on the stage, yes, I did so much in the community. I mean, I spent hours on end and weeks on weeks just going around and devoting my time to different communities and different issues and spending all my time with kids and talking about, goals and things like that. I want to be able to truly be the story that these young up-and-coming girls and even the guys, where they can hear somebody who doesn't have nothing make it happen. Because there's so many more of us like that than there are people that have opportunities and have assets and have the means to do these things without a blink of an eye. And I just, whether or not it's racing or not, but to be able to relate to what I've gone through, because it's been a very difficult road from having it all to literally having nothing, to where here I am a single mom and have to move back into my parents' house because I don't know what else to do, and then having to rebuild my life, establish myself as a business person, get into my own place again, start my life over from going through a divorce and figuring all this stuff out, and then, oh, guess what, Ali, you're still a race car driver, and we're going to need you back in the car. Like, to go through all of that, I want to be able to tell my story and be an approachable driver. I want to be able to show up in the garage and not have to have a certain time where I go talk to my fans. I want to be out there talking to them because I am them. I am the average person, and I want to always carry that through. So regardless of where I end up in the sport, I want people to relate to me just like they would be relating to their neighbor.
My final question, and you might have two answers. I have two answers to this question, and I'm quite a few years older than you, so you might only have one answer since I know you said you ain't a spring chicken, but you're quite a bit younger than me. Favorite driver or driver you idolized growing up, and a current favorite driver if it's not the same driver, and it does not have to be a NASCAR driver. Such as myself, growing up, I was a Bill Elliott fan. Now I'm a Danica/Kyle Busch fan. Obviously it was Elliott not being, a current driver anymore. So either a driver growing up that you idolized or was your favorite driver, and if it's different now, who is it currently?
Oh, that's a tough one. Obviously being a female, Shauna Robinson, I think was very influential in the sport. I don't think she gets enough credit for what she's done. I have kind of two different perspectives when it comes to that. Definitely her. I think it's a universal favorite for Dale Sr., but, I relate to that. I am blue collar. I am backwoods. You can find me in a mud hole and, going out here and just doing my thing and being done with it. I really appreciated his style and where he didn't let the fame change him. I think that's awesome. There's so many. There really are. Nowadays, that's a tough one. If you ask my 3-year-old, she'll say Kyle Busch, because she's obsessed with him. Just so you know that, because I'm like, are you ready for Mommy to go race? Well, is Kyle Busch going to be there? I'm really interested in just learning more about Kyle Larson, just kind of seeing what he's doing, and how he kind of handles himself. Those are the types of drivers I appreciate and see. But I try to be very open-minded when it comes to racing and kind of learning a little bit from everybody, and kind of trying to see what they do and appreciate each person's story for what they are, because that's what makes them sport.
Ali, I want to thank you very much for giving us your time and staying longer than originally what was supposed to. I'm very, very thankful for that, and I want to wish you the best of luck this Friday night at Richmond with this opportunity in the Xfinity Series, and hopefully that opens doors if that's what you guys choose to do, family all involved with this decision. If it's something you guys decide you guys want to tackle, I hope that's something that works out for you. If not, it sounds like you're more than happy with what you're doing already anyway. So either way, I'm sure you're going to be happy one way or the other. But Definitely want to wish you luck Friday night. We'll definitely be keeping an eye out for you. Hopefully, maybe we get you back later in the year to kind of recap if this is the only event you get to do. Recap on that and see if there's any plans, or at least just talk about your experience being in the Xfinity Series. But either way, want to wish you the best of luck. Thank you for coming on tonight, and hopefully we get you back sometime soon.
Yeah, not a problem. I appreciate you guys, too. I mean, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to different people from different levels of racing, and it takes more people like you to make this sport evolve. So I really appreciate that you guys do that, and think very highly of your show for being able to allow, just the regular everyday short track racer to all the way up to people in NASCAR. So I think you're doing a great job there. And, anytime you want to chat, I'll be more than happy to do so. So hopefully I'll have some bigger news after Richmond. Let's just get Richmond under our belt and go from there.
Thank you very much. That means a lot coming from you. And like I said, we'll keep an eye out on you Friday night. And hopefully you park that vehicle in Victory Lane, and we'll get to see that smile from ear to ear.
10-4. I appreciate it.
You have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ali Owens, Mark Rette, I tell you what, 2.5 hours just went by super, super duper fast. It amazes me how fast time went by. Great guests, both of them. I can't say anything negative at all. Very high compliments on both of them. Very informative, very complete answers, and I love that. I love when we have guests come on and they just a ball of energy, and that's seriously, Ali reminds me of Amber Balkan and Hannah Newhouse. Very talkative, very just, and you just want to sit there and listen, like wow, like you can feel the emotion, the intensity coming out, and that's really cool. And I'm glad to see she's getting this opportunity, and hopefully this leads to bigger and better things. Hopefully, as big as a Danica fan I am, hopefully this gives us an opportunity to see some other female talents make their way through the ranks, and hopefully in the Cup Series. And like I said, we'll definitely keep an eye out on Friday night and see how Ali does. We got one more thing we got to do, and usually when I give my picks, I give explanations. Obviously, with us already 25 minutes over our time, we're not going to be able to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to spit through. I'm going to name all the games off. I'm going to say who I'm going to pick. Mike, you tell me who you're going to pick, and we'll tally up over the weekend. And next week we'll make sure to have more of a time opportunity to make sure that we pick our be able to talk about our picks as well. First game on the slate tomorrow night, we got Carolina and Denver. God, it's hard not to give the reasons why. I'm going to pick Carolina. That's who I'm picking.
Yeah, I like Carolina on that too, CJ, because I don't know about Denver as far as their defense. Yeah, they have a strong defense. I just don't know what's happening with the offense and what's happening with the quarterback specifically. We've gone through the Mark Sanchez thing, and the new guy, and I like Carolina in that matchup.
It's hard not to give explanations why you pick them, and you want to explain why you're picking these teams, but it's hard. I almost got sucked into the same thing. Shorty said she's picking Carolina as well. Next game on the list, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Yeah. Again, Green Bay has issues. I like Rodgers. Don't know what's happening with
Tampa Bay, not Green Bay.
I'm sorry. I thought you said Green Bay. Yeah, I like Atlanta in that because again, Tampa Bay is a wild card. You don't know from one year to the next what they're going to do. I got to see them a few weeks, and then I'll make my final judgment on them. But I don't know enough about them going into the year to pick them. as a positive right now. So I'd go with Atlanta on that too.
Shorty picked Atlanta as well. Next game, Minnesota in Tennessee. I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Again, Minnesota with question marks. Basically, the quarterback.
Yep.
And what they're going to do, and you, to my way of thinking, unless it's an established guy, and again, we're not talking Sam Bradford here. If you have questions at quarterback at first, you got to see the guy perform before you pick them. So I'd go the other way with that also.
Yeah, I mean, how much did Sam Bradford learn in 1 week with the new system, new teammates, and everything else? So, with that being said, Shorty's going to go with Minnesota, so we'll see how that works out. Next game is San Diego at Kansas City. I'm going to go with Kansas City.
Under normal circumstances, I'm going to go San Diego. I like Phillip Rivers. I don't know. There's a lot of talk about that team moving, but that's more or less off the field issues. I don't know. I always like that team. It's just when they get down to not so much the beginning of the season, but when they get down to playoff time, that's when they seem to fold. Early in the season, that is when they perform. I don't know whether it's playoff pressure or what, but I'm going to go with San Diego just to be a little different on that one.
Next game on the list, Oakland at New Orleans. I'm going to go. This is probably going to be my upset of the week. I'm going to go with Oakland.
Okay, I'm going to go with New Orleans. I like that team. Generally, I don't know what changes overall they made, but I haven't heard anything really negative about the team, and Sean Payton as a coach generally has them prepared. I go with New Orleans.
Next game, and Shorty went with Oakland as well. Next game on the list is Cincinnati at New York, the Jets. I am going to go with the Jets.
Yeah, that's my team. I can't deny it. Yeah, I like them, and again, Cincinnati is one of those wild cards. You got to see how they're going to perform on a given year. I've seen them be terrible, and I've seen them be great, and I just don't know where they're at. Till I see them on the field, or till I get reports, or like you were saying, watch Sports Center or whatever. I don't know enough about them going in, but they've had years where they've been great, and they've had years where they've been terrible, and I don't know where they are. So I'll go with the Jets.
Shorty's going to go with Cincinnati. This might be one of the few weeks this year that I might actually pick my team. Cleveland is going into Philadelphia, rookie quarterback in Philadelphia. I feel we might have an opportunity to win this one. I'm going with my Cleveland Browns.
Right, I agree with you. Only because I don't, there's the Carson Wentz or whatever his name is. I think that's his name. That's the last name, Wentz.
Yep.
But I know the first name's Carson, but I wasn't sure. But Philadelphia is. This is not the Eagles of Randall Cunningham and that era. They've had so many question marks, and the defense at one time was good, and now you don't hear about them. And plus, I thought I heard something where Wentz was even hobbling around and might even be a little bit hurt going in. So I don't know. I one of the few times I've picked the Browns only because of their history. But I go with Cleveland with that as well.
Shorty's going with Cleveland as well. Next game is Green Bay at Jacksonville. As impressive as Jackson was to finish the season, Green Bay, I can't bet against Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Yeah, that's why I was going to, when you were talking before, I thought when you mentioned Tampa Bay, I thought you said Green Bay. But Rodgers is again, the quarterback is so pivotal, at least in the first game or really throughout the season, but especially going into the first game. If you have quarterback questions, that's a big position right there. Obviously, on a football team, or at least on the offense. And I can't. I've seen enough of Aaron Rodgers in the past, and he's not done anything to make me have negative feelings about him. If anything, I think he can bring a team through that might be struggling. And again, defensively, that whole Clay Matthews thing and everything. And I have a friend who's a Green Bay fan. But I can't. I've seen enough of Aaron Rodgers to put my money on him, so to speak, if I was a betting man and if I had money to bet. But I go with Green Bay on that.
Shorty will with Green Bay as well. Next game is Buffalo at Baltimore. I'm going with the Ravens.
Yeah, I again, Buffalo doesn't impress me, and again, Again, maybe it's my Jet background or Jet fandom speaking here. Rex Ryan as a coach. Rex Ryan as a coach. Good and bad, and Buffalo again is one of those wild cards. They actually have the Jets number most years, but. They play well against the Jets, I know. Unfortunately, I know. But they always seem to drop back down to their level, which is not a good level, against other teams. So I would go against them this week. Shorty
also picked the Ravens. Next game is Chicago at Houston. I'm sorry, I can't bet on Cutler. Nor I'm interested to see the new additions of the running back and the quarterback position for Houston. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans.
It's the offense that bothers you, and when you got Cutler directing the offense, that's what's bad. I don't know. Let me, just to be different, I'm gonna pick Chicago, and it's gonna have to be an upset, but definitely an upset. But I'll go the other way just to be interesting here.
All right, Shorty went with Houston as well. The next game is Miami at Seattle. As much as I'm not a big Seattle fan, not that I hate them, I don't like the other 31 teams. Really, one team I like. I have a lot of respect for Seattle, and until somebody shows me something that they could beat Seattle, I'm going to pick Seattle almost every single week. So Seattle, that's who I'm going to pick.
Right, again, because of my Jet background or my Jet fandom, I've seen enough of Miami, and they seem to play the Jets well, but against anybody else, and especially a team like Seattle, I got to go with Seattle.
Shorty went with Seattle as well. The next matchup is New York in Dallas. It is pretty and as nice as Dallas looks. You're talking about a rookie quarterback and a rookie running back. And week one against this New York Giant team that has a lot of returning veterans, and Eli Manning at times can be very deadly in that wide receiving core. I'm going to have to go with the Giants. I might end up regretting this. Who knows? Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott come out and take the NFL by storm. But the back of my mind and my gut says two rookies at the two key positions on that offense. I think the Giants are going to have fun with this, and I'm going with the New York Giants.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like I said, I'm a Jet fan, but I've seen enough of the Giants being, from Long Island and spending football seasons in New York And I don't see Eli having a problem in Dallas, and he usually plays well against them. And I have to go with the Giants in that one also.
Shorty went with the Dallas Cowboys. The next one is the Detroit Lions at Indianapolis. I'm going to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I can't pick Detroit except on Thanksgiving. Strangely enough, they always seem to play a good game on Thanksgiving Day. But I go the other way, and not with the Lions.
Shorty picked the Indianapolis Colts as well. Next game is New England and Arizona. No Tom Brady. Arizona NFC championship game. That's why I even picked to go to the Super Bowl. I was honestly shocked that Carolina beat them and beat them as bad as they did to get into the Super Bowl. Arizona, to me, is one of those teams that are going to be favored to be into the Super Bowl. I'm going with Arizona.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. Even, with Brady, it might be a different story. Here again, you got the quarterback issue. But I happen to like Arizona's coach. I think he's innovative and does things a little bit different. And I agree on that. I would go with Arizona on that one.
Shorty picked New England, and she already stepped to the bathroom. I don't know if she even realized that Tom Brady's not going to be there for Week 1. So either she's going to have one hell of an episode this week, or she's going to wonder what happened to the New England Patriots. Los Angeles at San Francisco. I'm probably going to regret this pick. But I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think Blaine Gabbert is capable enough to lead the 49ers over the Los Angeles Rams at home in San Francisco.
I as much as I want to go with the Rams, they're still the St. Louis Rams. They might have changed locations, but they're the same team, and they don't impress me. And I have to, I kind of want to root against San Francisco in the back of my mind, but I have to go with them in this matchup.
Shorty went with the Los Angeles Rams, and to wrap things up Monday night, this is a really interesting game. The Pittsburgh Steelers at Washington. Of course, Washington finished the season real good and made the playoffs. Pittsburgh made the playoffs, but kind of fell flat in the playoffs. You got Roethlisberger, you got Antonio Brown, you got a lot of key pieces of that Pittsburgh Steelers team that is going to make me pick the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't want to take nothing away from Kirk Cousins. I think that he's on track to be one hell of a quarterback in the NFL, nor that receiving core. But this is the Steelers, and as much as I dislike the Steelers being a Browns fan, I think on Monday night on the big stage, I think the Steelers will start off the season 1-0. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are you there? They must have cut Mike off. Mike's going to have to give me his final pick on through Messenger. And we'll let everybody know what his pick was. Got to thank everybody for tuning in and hanging out, especially if you guys are still listening to us at the 2-hour and 40-minute mark. Two great guests tonight. Love the opportunity of having both of those guys, both of them on the show, Mark Rette and Ali Owens. Learned a lot tonight, and I became a fan of a new fan of a driver. So very, very excited about the opportunity of seeing her Friday night participate in the Xfinity Series race. Got to thank Fit for Life. Got to thank Snafu Seasoning, I-95 Sports Network, and Mile High Radio. Don't forget, we will be out at Bristol Motor Speedway for the Tennessee Volunteer Virginia Tech matchup Saturday night, 8 p.m. If you guys are going to be out there, hit me up at CJ Sports 1 on Twitter. Email me, MrCJSports@gmail.com, or send me a message over at our fan page, One Day Nation Sports. Would love to have the opportunity to meet up with you, and thank you personally for listening to the show and be able to just meet and greet. Tomorrow night, Racing with Big Sweat, 9 p.m. Great show planned for you guys. Make sure you guys are there. And until then, you guys have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
Get to Kohl's this Thursday through Sunday. Save on your favorite brands for your home, like KitchenAid, Cuisinart, Food Network, Serta, and more. And any way you pay, take an extra 20% off your purchase. Plus, everyone gets $10 Kohl's Cash for every $50 spent. No limit. Use your Kohl's Cash later on just about anything, online and in-store. Now that's the good stuff. Kohl's. Offer valid September 8th to 11th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.